Ladies and gentlemen, I do believe it's a close call here. The black is fine since I can always go back to Joann's and buy more, but the green checkered material is special, and there's no possible way that I'm doing another dyeing session. I mean, it is possible. I'm just lazy. Best part is, I didn't take into account the professional mathematical alignment skills needed for this next part, because if I am at least slightly off, it will look wrong. Yippee! Right now, I'm trying to align the two right sides together. Nah, dude. It's not possible. I just have to unfold it and trace and cut everything. Twice! By the way, for every piece, you're aligning the first piece against the second piece. To a T. Your scissors will be doing double time just to keep up with the curves. You're fine, just stop screaming. I got a couple of top skirts to cut here, and all I can think about is how I'm gonna seal off the ends so it doesn't fray. That'll be fascinating. I certainly love a challenge. The less tutorials I can follow, the better. Of course, I stopped filming for a second, but you can see how closely I fit the last two pieces for the checkered material. Thin freaking ice. Why do I make tutorials again? For the underbust and waist, I make sure to keep both sides attached by putting the on-fold edge on the lines. The good news about this material is that it practically gave you training wheels while also stabbing your back at the same time. The checkers create these invisible lines that will guide your scissors. Also, Mom, get the cat off my fabric! Thank you. Other than that, it's the same thing. Seam allowance, triangles, cut. Speaking of cutting, my thumb is covered up because I cut some basil in my thumbnail at the same time. I know, even in my injuries, I multitask. You can see with the lower and upper back pieces, a disaster is brewing. I can smell it. I added a 1 inch of seam allowance last minute for the zipper, but I didn't do that for the black material. It doesn't help that I am now on my last few chunks of usable fabric. Oops, I didn't mention that I still have an entire curtain to use for the dress. But the sleeves are big, okay? Like really big. Square big. They're really simple to do. Just cut a square. A big one. 2 of them. You need 2. Oh, everything is ready for the most exciting part of the video. What's that? Are those my joints cracking and developing arthritis? Oh, you must be mistaken. It's the floorboards. Oh, you're right. I have to go pay my chiropractor a visit. I'll be back. Don't go anywhere! Fasten your seatbelts, folks, because we only got 4 more days to work on this dress before we move out for school. That's right, I spent my entire break on this project. I blinked and it just evaporated.
Hey, Scotty.
Alright, so I cut out some interfacing for these specific pattern pieces using my pattern template from the pattern that I made. Yes, you'll need the triangles, but this time only 1/8 inch seam allowance is needed. We don't want the glorified sewing paper sticking out of the seams, you get me? Interfacing is actually kinda sorta fun in my personal opinion that you must agree with. Put the dotty gluey side against the wrong side of the fabric and cover that with a damp pillowcase. Then press that baby like there's no tomorrow. Look at that. It's so steamy, so satisfying. I could use a facial nowadays. The same could be done for all the other specific pieces, so you got a stiff bust. Don't even say it. It's not funny. Okay, it's kind of funny. I'm horrible. Sometimes I go over it if the sticky stuff doesn't stick. Usually it does just fine since I'll be sewing it all together anyway. This is where the arrows come in handy. Pin the inner and outer bust pieces together and sew it up. Yep, it's building time. Could you imagine putting together a dress using only tape or glue, though? Wouldn't that just be a wild thing that I definitely don't see myself doing in a future video? Just kidding. This is exactly why I trace out the seam allowance lines on every single one of my pieces. It makes the sewing process much easier, and I don't have to tell everyone that secret method. Oh, whoops. Now, these cups aren't meant to hold liquid, but we need to keep adding onto them until we don't have to hold them up anymore. They need room for Jesus, so why don't we add a third wheel to the group? There she is. Oh dear. Yeah. You're all gonna hate this next part. Pin together the bottom of the cup to the curve of the underbust. With right sides together, it's gonna look a little hunky-dory, but that's okay. It's literally so much worse once you put it under the sewing needle. I'm not one of those connoisseurs that sews everything in one smooth motion. I am a perfectionist that refuses to accept any type of fold or flaw on a curve. Thanks to that, I will be spending the next year on this tiny little curve. Repeat this torture 3 more times. Oh, our little underbust needs a friend. Let's help her out. Any volunteers? Ah, yes. Perfect. Everyone knows that friends are forever, so let's go ahead and sew their bodies together in the most grotesque way possible. It's much smoother than the last step because it's just a straight line. Don't forget to align the checker pattern at the front. I know mine's not aligned at all, but nobody's perfect. The same process I just showed you earlier will be done in the exact same way, but you're switching material. Make your cups, sew them together in a bond of marriage, and shove the waist up there so it looks like the green side of the top. For the following step, you are going to use every possible skill up to this point to pass the cumulative final. I know I'm saying this is a joke, but this is actually incredibly difficult. Pivot the needle when you reach the middle or you will die. This is not a drill. I also left a gap at the top of the cups for the straps later on. Combine the two materials for the lower back and attach them to the waist piece. This is what I was talking about earlier, actually. The lower back pieces are technically still the waist, just built different, with a mark where the strap should go. Because I'm a silly goose, I went back and closed up the sides of the lining and outside fabric. With the addition of the lower back piece, I went on the inside of the seam allowance so the whole front of the lining was now neatly attached. No, I'm not going to say that in English. Check it out, now it's almost wearable. I'll just need to get all these steps done and I will finally be able to see if it actually fits. So learning from our prototype from earlier, I realized that the spaghetti straps cannot and will not be able to hold up the sleeves. I know, a marvelous discovery. As with most of these pieces, we are combining both materials again! This time I'm only sealing off one end of the straps because I want this dress to look as unprofessional as possible. By the way, if you're working with two materials back to back, I learned this neat little trick from YouTube University. Backstitching. It basically forces the lining fabric to stay on the inside against its will. Really sneaky little trick that I love because you don't even see it. Here's me attaching the strap to the rest of the bodice, which is another sneaky weaky little trick where I insert the strap in between the lining and the outward fabric. I'm sorry, I literally forgot the name of what the outward fabric is called. The lining... What is not lining fabric? The lining and... fabric? Don't judge me. This was so tricky and sneaky because I had to get the measurements just right. You have no idea how many pinpricks to the chest I had to suffer through in order to figure that out. Oh, okay, she's cute. Not her, but she's cute. Just a quick pit stop in Sketchtown, USA with these upper back pieces. I got so lazy here, guys. Also, did you know that work shy is a synonym for lazy? I thought that was so adorable. I'm gonna use that now. Anyways, I am definitely using the proper techniques to attach these upper back pieces as discreetly as possible. I thought I could just leave most ends open and just close the top part to save time. Do not do this. It looks really sloppy, but honestly no one looks inside of my dress, so it's totally fine. At this point, I got a little experimental with the camera angles since I was tired of the same old cinematography for my sewing machine. She deserves better. You guys like this one? What about this one? Okay, this one. I call it the top secret underbelly of sewing. After achieving a haphazard job of slapping on the upper back pieces, I knew that I needed to abandon the zipper area and move on to the sleeves. I don't know how many times I have to say this, but this is literally the easiest way to sew on a sleeve. Just align both sides together and sew it, then spend 10 minutes trying to properly pin the sleeve and the rest of the bodice, and of course, remember to sew over the underbust disaster and pretend it never happened. Works like a charm. Check your pins though. You don't want to be accidentally attaching the sleeves to the wrong part of the dress. Unless you want to. I don't know. I don't want to judge you. No, keep going. Keep going. Keep biting it. Yay! She's coming along so nicely. Let's abandon the current project and move on to the bottom part of the dress. Am I going to regret not sealing up the seams on the back? Yes. Yes, I am. But look at the pretty colors, the pretty lace. For once in my entire sewing career, I decided to set things down and plot out my next few steps. Sorta. Like the sketch, we got two black underskirts and a top skirt with a wavy pattern carved into it. In my head, however, I really wanted to find a fancy lace to attach somewhere, and I had trouble deciding where. Which one should I go with? If you guessed the black skirts, you are completely wrong. Or right. Ooh, you'll just have to find out where I put it. It's a mystery. I went ahead and attached the black skirts together since I didn't have to use any brain cells for that step. The following step requires at least a couple, because I don't think sealing this hem has ever been achieved in the history of man. Apparently, on curves, you have to cut hundreds of little triangles and press the hem inwards. This creates the illusion that I actually know what I'm doing. I just want to be upfront and say right now that this is the dumbest way I could have covered the seam because it somehow works by the grace of God. Once folded, I pinned the lace on the inside of the hem so it looks good on both the inside and outside of the top skirt. Everybody get ready to cheer on our hero as she struggles to make a smooth edge. Go team go! 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 You guys like my mustache? I'm just closing up the back end of the top skirt only halfway to make room for the zipper. Then I had a last minute idea where I could overlap the two ends of the top skirt to make the robe effect. I regret doing that. It looks pretty though. Off camera, I attached the bottom half of the top and I was ready to insert the zipper and be done with it. Okay, so the dress is almost done. I had a little crisis in the back of the dress because I hate zippers, first of all, because you have to calculate everything perfectly and I don't have a pattern, and I just have to trust that I did the measurements on my body correctly, because what I did with the practice dress was I just measured the back from like there to there and like there to down there. It was sketchy. So I didn't know what I was getting into. So by the time I finally reached the back, it looked like this. And I'm moving out to college tomorrow. So I was kind of panicking, and I decided to go back and add some extra fabric underneath. And you'll see that the skirt was off. So what I did was I went back in and I cut the skirts evenly between these two, because these two needed to be even, the lower back, upper back. So I cut the skirts backwards, and then I went underneath and did like this black fabric, and then I sewed the zipper on that. So I did that with the lower part, and I zipped it up. It was really sketchy, it was awful. My mom had to zip it up for me, and it was not fitting over my upper back because it was wide. So I had to go back to the drawing board again and get this, kind of widen it in the back, like the upper back, middle back area, to get that. So it was like the same technique, super sketchy, but I got it done and it fits very well. But there's one more thing we have to do. Right now I'm going to work on the trim on the sleeves, and I got it to look really nice. And I wasn't gonna film on how to do it, but I realized it looks really, really nice. And I wanna show you guys how I did it. See, look, even the inside is nice and clean and beautiful and just gorgeous. So I'm gonna teach you. Last thing on our bottomless list of things to do was an improvised sleeve cuff. I think I saw it somewhere in my lifetime, or I just didn't feel like the dollar store curtain ends looked too good on their own. I swear I saw it online or something. I'll put up pictures to prove my point. It's super simple though. Cut 2 strips that cover the width of the sleeve and then some. Press about 1/4 inch on both sides and pin the inside seams of the black and green sides on the inside and sew. I don't know how to describe it otherwise, just use your eyeballs. Sew the inside first, then press it so the material goes to the outside of the sleeve. This is all about concealing the seams and using the least amount of sewing possible. Finally, you can sew on the top of the cuff. Since the edge is already folded, you don't have to seal it off. Those 2 birds are not alive anymore. They're gone. Dress is finished. It has been 4 weeks since I started this nightmare, and that includes me making the sketchy make sketch dress with the spare fabric bed sheets. So it is possible. You can use recycled fabric and make something beautiful, because this used to be curtains. So honestly, I'm proud of myself here. I kind of need to let this out, okay? Excuse me a second. Okay. Okay. Excuse me. So I made it just in time. I'm literally moving out today, so I don't have any time to relax and I don't have any downtime, but that's okay because I really do not like sitting around the whole break and doing nothing. So I'm real proud of myself. think I did a good job. I'm rambling at this point, honestly. I just want to get out of here. I'm very tired. I'm C, and this C is costumes, and I'm leaving. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.